Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to another explainer, where we take complex histories and break them down into clear, visual concepts. Today, we're focusing on one of the absolute most remarkable achievements in all of human history, the Great Wall of China. But, as we unpack the data and the historical records today, you're going to see that the story you've probably been told, well, it isn't quite the whole picture. So, when you picture the Great Wall, what immediately pops into your head? It's probably this endless, unbroken dragon of stone, just flawlessly winding its way across mountain peaks, right? Like a single massive barrier built to keep the outside world out. But here is the really critical question we need to ask right out of the gate. Is the Great Wall actually a continuous wall? Well, the answer to that is going to completely shift your perspective on this ancient wonder. And this brilliantly illustrates the exact difference between popular legend and the actual historical record. Looking at the myth on the left, we've got this pervasive idea of one continuous, unified wall erected all at once by a single, unified empire. But look on the right. Here we see the reality. It was actually never just one single wall. It's a staggering, sprawling network of overlapping defensive structures that were built, connected, and honestly, endlessly rebuilt over an immense span of time. It's really less like a simple fence and way more like a complex, evolving defensive grid. To truly appreciate the sheer scale of this project, we've got to look at the timeline. 2000. That is the literally mind-boggling number of years over which this massive defensive network was actively constructed and modified. Think about that. 2,000 years. This wasn't some quick public works project completed in a few decades. It was a multi-generational obsession, century after century. For over 2 millennia, empires rose and empires fell, but the building, the expanding, and the fortifying of the system, it never truly stopped. So if it wasn't just one incredibly long brick path, what exactly was it? Well, if you were to somehow walk the entirety of the historical routes, you wouldn't just find bricks. You'd encounter a highly diverse defensive system. Sure, there are walls, obviously, but you'd also find heavily armed fortifications, these towering watchtowers used for flashing rapid signals across vast distances, and deep, dugout trenches. And the ancient builders were incredibly resourceful too. They heavily utilized existing natural barriers, like steep mountain ridges and treacherous rivers, to basically do the heavy lifting of defending for them. They didn't just build a wall, they strategically weaponized the entire natural landscape. Let's move to and see how this builds from its very earliest origins. We're traveling way, way back now, long before the famous Qin dynasty, which usually gets the bulk of the credit in pop culture. The true genesis of this structure actually traces back to the 7th century BCE. During this ancient period, the region wasn't unified at all. It was a fractured land of competing powers, and the origins of our magnificent wonders started as entirely disjointed, totally localized efforts. As the historical records tell us, during this time, different Chinese states built defensive walls to protect their territories from neighboring kingdoms and groups from the northern frontier. Think of it kind of like a neighborhood where every single owner is desperately building their own private fences. The various states weren't sitting around collaborating on a grand national defense strategy. They were simply trying to survive against the kingdom right next door, as well as against nomadic groups pressing down from the north. These were fragmented, isolated barriers, born purely out of local necessity and survival. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how remarkably underwhelming those early walls actually were compared to what we imagine today. On the left, you can see what the earliest versions were made of. Mostly just packed dirt, maybe some wooden logs, and loose stones piled together. I mean, imagine telling a soldier from the 7th century BCE that his glorified mud mound would eventually evolve into the legendary impenetrable stone fortress you see on the right. It's a pretty incredible historical glow-up for sure. It took centuries of architectural evolution to transition from those early dirt barricades into the stunning engineered marvels of brick and stone that tourists flock to photograph today. So the crucial point is this. If the Great Wall isn't a single continuous physical object built all in one go, but rather a messy, evolving, 2,000-year collection of different structures, ranging all the way from ancient mud mounds to elaborate stone fortresses and deep trenches, how does that actually change our definition of a remarkable human achievement? Perhaps the true wonder isn't the bricks and mortar at all. Perhaps the real marvel is the continuous, unbroken human effort, just the sheer, stubborn willpower of millions of people spanning thousands of years, all committed to one singular, evolving goal. So the next time you look at a photo of the Great Wall, ask yourself, are you looking at a monument of stone or a monument to sheer human persistence?